Hello, and welcome back to DLA Alternative. It's your boy Brandon, and I hope everyone is doing phenomenal as always. And thank you as always to everyone who keeps subscribing, liking, and following this journey with us. We are on the road to 3K, people, but keep helping us get there. I love each and every single one of you. Thank you to everyone who has supported all of these videos by liking, commenting, hyping, whatever it is. Thank you. I love all of you guys. But let's get right into this one, and this is crazy to say, but this is probably going to be our last theory before the actual season 5 comes out, and it's wild to say this has been a wild year, okay? We've been analyzing the show for an entire year, a little bit over, and it's been a whirlwind. I'll just tell you that. I've done, I think in total, almost 90 plus theories, different styles of theories over this past year, specifically all to do with Stranger Things, okay? Whether they come true or not, it has been so much fun trying to analyze the show. I've learned so much just myself about film. I've learned so much about you guys and how much interesting thoughts that the Stranger Things world actually has, okay? If you have not joined the DLA Discord, join the DLA Discord. I'll put a link in the description. It's madness over there, and we basically do theories 24/7 on this show. So they have helped an immense amount with creating these series as well. So I want to give you guys a huge shout out. You already know I love you guys, but more importantly, let's just get right into this one. This is a big moment. The season is coming out tomorrow, all right? I am so excited. I hope you guys all are too. But the plan for those theories, all right, what I'm going to do, all right, I'm binging it as soon as it comes out. No doubt in my mind, I'm going to binge all 4 episodes, okay? And then what I'm going to do on Thanksgiving, all right, after I'm done with family stuff, and I hope everyone has a phenomenal Thanksgiving if you celebrate. But what I'm going to do after I do my family stuff is I'm going to come home, I'm going to watch the first 2 episodes again. I'm going to do a rewatch of those 2 episodes. And hopefully by Friday, I have enough knowledge and some thoughts that we could start getting into these theories almost right away for the weekend. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to analyze those other 2 episodes, and we're going to go in all month long, as many theories as we possibly can. My goal was to get over 100 theories before it came out. Didn't happen, but we got about like 8 or 9 more, okay? So we could definitely do that within this month, no doubt in my mind. We'll have over 100 different Stranger Things theories that you can go and pick and choose from, all right? And this all started, I gotta give a huge shout out because all of the DLA Discord love this one, but a huge shout out to the mushroom theory, okay? That's what started this channel, was based off a mushroom and comparing it to Stranger Things. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but yes, this has been a whirlwind of a year, and this channel has developed so quickly. It's grown so fast, and I could not thank each and every single one of you enough. You've added so much light to my life, and just thank you. So I hope you guys like this one. Let's get right into this last theory before our final season of Stranger Things 5. But with all that being said, okay, as you can tell by the thumbnail and title, we're going to get into our trailer breakdown, this new trailer that just came out, because I have some major thoughts, all right? So basically, how this starts off, people, we start off with our duo again. I am so happy to see this duo in action again, and I'm talking about our boys Dustin and Steve, all right? Basically, Dustin says he's trying to confirm to Steve because he seems to like have some doubts like he always does about Dustin's plans, and he's going, this is gonna work. And then Steve basically says, well, yeah, it better work. It's not like we're conspicuous or anything. And the thing about that line, it pointed out to me, is if we kind of look at the street, does it not kind of look like life is just kind of normal for some reason? Like, we know that the whole city center of Hawkins is under lockdown, and from what it looked like to us in the other trailers, that the whole town of Hawkins is under lockdown. But to me, this street seems to be kind of living normal life. It seems like everybody's just fine. It doesn't seem like anything's wrong. And if you think about that line, how Steve's basically saying it's like we're not conspicuous or anything, he's basically saying like they're pointing out, all right, for some reason. So it made me think about that we're seeing all these other things going on, but now all of a sudden this new trailer starts and it seems like life is pretty normal. So just let me know your thoughts about that. But we're going to save this radio talk, okay, this satellite on top of this car for the end, because there's some thoughts I have. However, as we see, it looks like they're kind of waiting for a signal. They're doing a plan. It looks like Dustin's plan. But then we see when it shows in front of them that these lights are blinking. So I don't know what to think about that. I don't know if that's on purpose, if there's something going on that they can't see, as we know happens a lot in this show. But just let me know your thoughts about that. the things I want to know more about is what street do you think they are on? I have this vibe, okay, that this is giving me like Loch Nora vibes for some reason, and I don't know why. And the only reason being is like how these lights look. When we see Will go to the Upside Down and we see him see the Mind Flayer on Halloween night, okay, when they're on Loch Nora, it kind of resembles like these lights, how it's like looking down the street and then he sees the Mind Flayer. But do these lights not kind of resemble the same thing in a way? Like, just imagine if this was upside down looking and Will's looking down that street. I don't know, just let me know your thoughts. But the other vibe I'm getting here is Miss Kelly's house or her street, okay? And the reason being is what's exactly happening here is we're seeing Steve and Dustin waiting outside on a street, okay? And that's exactly what happens when Max goes to Miss Kelly's in season 4. Basically, Steve and Dustin are just sitting outside waiting, and they're having kind of a weird conversation like this about the plan or about talking about stuff. So let me know your thoughts about that. There's a weird parallel to that, and no doubt in my mind, I don't know if they're going to Miss Kelly's house again, but maybe they could be going to another teacher's house that we really hope is coming back, and there's something I have to say about that at the end as well. So let's just keep going. Because now, as we get to this scene, all right, with Mike and Lucas, we're actually going to hold off on this one. But the only hint I'm going to give you, all right, is that obviously we're in the middle school, and obviously this connects to a later scene, okay? But what Mike says is we have a plan, and it's a bit insane, okay? So we're going to hold off on that because I have some confirmation from some previous theories that I want to talk about. However, the next scene we get is Robin, and it looks like Mike is sitting right next to her, and they're in the WSQK radio van, from what it looks like. And she basically gives us her season 3 sass, her sarcasm, okay, Robin's side. She goes, oh yeah, what could go wrong? And no doubt in my mind, it gave me instantly like season 3 vibes of Robin's character, like when we first ever meet her, okay? And interesting enough, how Mike and Robin are in this scene, okay? The first time we really ever meet Robin and she has her line, and her sarcasm comes out is when Mike goes up to the counter at Scoops Ahoy, all right? And basically he's ringing the bell, and then she calls Steve and she goes, hey Dingus, your children are here. So it made me think about that it's a little odd that Mike and Robin are in this scene and it's showing her sarcasm, but the very first time we ever meet Robin, okay, is that side of her involved with Mike. So there's a connection there, so just let me know your thoughts about that. But this next scene, all right, the next scene with Dustin, Jonathan, and Nancy. All right, I know that most people are probably thinking that this is like upside down version of Hawkins' Lab, okay? And very well it could be. But I'm going to try and be different here, all right? I'm getting more of a Starcourt Mall vibe, okay? And yes, I know this is the upside down, so this scene maybe might not be that place specifically. This might be Hawkins' Lab, but the vibe I'm getting from this scene is that maybe they're going to be led to having to go back to Starcourt to figure something out as well. The reason being, okay, is in this scene, they're like looking at a sheet of paper. We don't know what they're looking at, all right? And it instantly gave me the vibe because Dustin's the one saying the line. He goes, no idea, but I think we should find out, right? That's something that kind of just made me instantly think about the things we need to know more in this show. And Hawkins' Lab is one of them, but as well as Starcourt Mall. And we have not gotten shit involving Starcourt Mall from what it looks like. So I really want to know why they're holding off on the whole Starcourt Mall connection within all of these trailers and promos, okay? If you really think about that, that could be extremely significant. But if we think about who's talking in this scene, Dustin was like pretty much the leader of that group within Starcourt Mall, okay? Steve comes off like he's the leader, so does Rob, so does Erica. But Dustin was really who led that group. And if you really think about it, that's how Dustin comes off in all of these trailers, at least in this one specifically, is that Dustin is not giving a shit anymore. He's going all in. He's taking that fire from within him and he's putting it out. So just let me know your thoughts about that. I just instantly got like a Starcourt vibe from just looking at this, and that long hallway in the back kind of just gives me like how those long hallways were. And as we know, there's some significance to Starcourt that we don't know about, so just let me know your thoughts. Because as we get to our hands together moment, all right, as I like to call it, but now since we've in this trailer, we could call it the everyone in moment, as Mike is saying in this trailer. And we first get, okay, our boys, Mike and Lucas, his hands are already ready to go in there. Then we get this shot of Will Byers, and he looks so happy that this is happening. And it made me just happy seeing this boy happy, all right? Seeing this boy smile for once, all right? But then we see Dustin, and like I just said, we see this fire come out in him, okay, where he's like, if we're going to do this plan in a sense, I want to see Vecna's heart on a platter. And I love that. I love seeing this side of Dustin and not getting the vibe that, oh, Dustin is going to be distraught in his mind. And I get it. He's probably going to have that side of him more in secret, maybe not so much around our group, but I'm thinking more when he's with our group, we're going to see this side of him, this fiery side. But when we see him private, we're probably going to get that emotional side where he kind of lets it out. You know, we see the real side of like how he's grieving from Eddie. Okay. And I still believe Eddie Munson's coming back. I don't care. I don't believe it until all 8 episodes comes out and everyone knows that. But the bigger question here, people, is as we know in previous trailers, Will kind of goes into a trance right after it seems like this is about to happen, okay? The bigger question I thought about before I even made that connection was how are they going to plan to block Vecna out, okay, from their minds while they're doing all of this shit is the bigger question here. And it makes me think, okay, I don't know if they're going to be able to. So there's something I want to connect later involving Will, okay, and what he says. But I just want to know your thoughts about that so far. So let me know your thoughts. But this next scene, people, we have confirmation 100%, okay? As I stated in the trailer breakdown theory, this came off when the gates started coming and we see Robin and Murray on top by the radio station and the gates start creating. And I basically can confirm that I said this was going to be the beginning of a Demogorgon chase scene. And sure as hell, these Demogorgons are popping out of the ground just like it's nothing and chasing this Bradley's Big Buy truck with our people, Robin and Murray, all right? The bigger question here, people, is not everything that's going on with this because we've got vibes of this from other previous stuff, okay? So it's kind of easy to confirm this, but what I want to ask you is what the hell is in the truck, all right? Because obviously, these Demogorgons don't necessarily seem like they're after Robin and Murray here. They seem like they're after whatever the hell is in this truck. And that truck looks like it's like a freezer truck or something that's keeping something cold. So I want to know your thoughts about what is in this truck because I don't know what to think. But I'm curious of what you think. So let me know your thoughts about that. Because as we get to our next scene, this is going to be one of the most important scenes that connected a direct episode in part 1 of this new season coming out. And the reason being is I'm thinking that this is directly from the Turnbow Trap, okay? And not because of the mansion look and the fancy bar, okay, behind them and how everyone's thinking there's this Turnbow mansion, all right? But what I want to connect here is the symbolism here. And one is our characters being Jonathan and Nancy, but also the symbolisms of what they have in their hands, okay? Nancy has a shotgun and Jonathan has a Molotov cocktail. Well, what's the last time we remember a shotgun and a Molotov cocktail being used is at the end of season 4 when they were burning Vecna to a crisp, okay? We see Nancy with her shotgun in the Creel House attic, and then we see Robin and Steve with the Molotov cocktails, okay, with her. But what I want you to keep in mind is we have more symbolism and deeper symbolism here, people, and that's our characters being Jonathan and Nancy. And Jonathan was not there in that Creel House attic. So how are we going to connect them here? Well, we're going to go all the way back to season 1, at the very last episode being the Upside Down, people. And what we see is we don't see Nancy with a shotgun necessarily, but we see her with a handgun. And we don't see Jonathan with a Molotov, but we see Jonathan with a lighter ready to go to light something on fire. And specifically, that is when they are going to trap the Demogorgon. You see what I'm saying here? So, my confirmation, I'm going to confirm this, and if I'm wrong, whatever. But I'm guessing that this is specifically going to be a scene from the Turnbow Trap episode. I'm going to try and confirm that right now. But the reason being is just because if we think back to the first symbolism we ever see with these two characters, kind of what's going on here, that's back to that very last episode. And that's the 8th episode. So I'm not thinking this is a finale episode. This is in the part 1 trailer, obviously. So it's going to be in a pretty significant part of this part 1. It's going to be one of those later episodes, mark my words. But I'm calling it, it's going to be the Turnbow Trap episode. So let me know your thoughts about that as well. Because now that we get to this scene, people, this is the scene I want to hold off on from that everyone in or the hands together moment. Because what we see is Will, and we could see that he's in this farmhouse that we've been seeing in other previous stuff. But he says the line, he knows where we're at. And obviously, no doubt in my mind, he's talking about Vecna, okay? And he's obviously probably going to be sending some Demogorgons there, like as we see from previous stuff. But the thing about this is, I want to connect here is Will obviously knows that Vecna knows where they're at. So the question is Will connecting to Vecna before we see this? Is Will doing something where he's being used to connect to Vecna to try and see where he's at, or trying to maybe spy back on Vecna himself? And the reason I say that is because we think back to season 2, okay? A conversation between our boy Mike and our boy Will, all right? When Will is infiltrating, he's all scared and he's talking to Mike. Mike says this line, okay, that he says, well, maybe it's a good thing. And Will looks all confused. He's like, what do you mean it's a good thing? And basically Mike says, he goes, well, maybe because you can spy back. You're like a super spy now. And I've always thought about that line, that this is going to be significant in one way or another, okay? And it somewhat seems like that in previous seasons, but not like it's probably going to be in this season, especially now that we know there's this direct connection between Will and Vecna, okay, with that first 5 minutes, okay? So there's going to be something about this. But the thing about this whole farmhouse, a lot of people are connecting the Turnbow Trap to that farmhouse. I think that the Turnbow Trap episode is going to be led in to possibly something associated with the scene being the Sorcerer episode. So I don't know about that, but I'm going to also try and confirm that I'm thinking maybe this scene right here, when Will is saying he knows where we're at, where we're kind of seeing that there's a connection between Will and Vecna here. I'm getting the Sorcerer vibe, just because we know Will the Wise as our wizard of the group. We know Vecna as a dark wizard, and Sorcerer just comes off like that, like a connection or something to do with magic, something to do with wizards. So just let me know your thoughts about that. That's extremely interesting. But as we get to this next, oh my gosh, I am so annoyed with these scenes, these Lucas scenes in the tunnels, okay? Because as we see this Demogorgon, all of a sudden now we're seeing the vibe that Erica is there with him, okay? And I'm getting so confused because this scene just jumps in everything that we have been getting with. So I want to know your thoughts. But we obviously see the Demogorgon. You can see a little short clip that Erica is standing there with Lucas now. So this raises a question of what the hell is even going on even deeper, because we initially just thought it was Lucas. Now Erica and Lucas are there. But then we see this shot of Lucas with the crowbar, and he's looking at the Demogorgon, then turns around like something's behind him. Like there's a second problem. The only question I'm going to say here is, or the only thing I want to say here is basically, all right, with the fact we see Erica and now Lucas is turning around, it's making me think that maybe for some reason Erica is about to be doing something behind him, and maybe saying, hey Lucas, duck, and say throw something at this Demogorgon. I have no idea. I know that sounds ridiculous, but just the fact that we are kind of getting a confirmation that there's more than just Lucas in the scene and that Erica is also there, that raises a lot of questions. So just let me know your thoughts about that. It kind of confused me. But as we get to this next scene, this Mike and this boom moment, there's something weird about these scenes, how these play out. I'm getting the vibe that they're just throwing a bunch of scenes at us in this moment to confuse us, because basically we see Mike and he goes boom. But however, he has the number 5 up, okay, on his hand. And as we saw in the teaser trailer, people, as we've seen in that teaser trailer a long time ago, basically we hear Mike and he's going burn commencing in 5, 4, 3, and so on, okay? So I'm getting the vibe that because right after this scene, we start seeing some burn commencing moments, all right? And then all of a sudden we see this big explosion, which would match up to Mike saying boom, okay? I really don't think that boom is associated with what Mike's saying when it says boom, okay? I don't know if our group is going to be the ones that are responsible for exploding some big tank or gas tank in the middle of this military base. I don't know. This is season 5. All cards are off. I have no idea. But you see military men dying in that scene most likely. So I don't know if our group necessarily is going to be responsible for trying to actually just kill military people. But who actually knows, all right? I just think this is a mix of scenes that is meant to confuse us though. So just let me know your thoughts about that. I have no idea. But as we get to this next scene, people, of our girl, Erica Sinclair, and she is like, time's up, and she's about to just walk away. There's a reason why I wanted to hold off on that Mike and Lucas scene from earlier about him talking about a plan, and it's a bit insane. This, no doubt in my mind, connects because you can clear as day see that Mike and Lucas are standing in front of Erica within this moment. However, I will say I wanted to hold off on this because in the trailer breakdown, I was wrong about one thing. I thought she might have been talking to Dustin based off the context that was happening in that trailer. However, so I was wrong about that. But I can confirm that I was right about Erica being convinced of something, and not within this scene, but if you connect the previous scenes we've seen of Erica where she's kind of walking up those steps, and we've seen it in the previous trailers, and then it kind of looks like she's turns around real slow, like she's convinced of something, no doubt in my mind that is going to happen right after this, and Mike was just the one talking, so I'm going to try and confirm something else right here, is that Lucas maybe says something to Erica that makes her turn around and convinces her to join this plan, and that seems a bit insane from what Mike says. So just let me know your thoughts. I was wrong about the person she's talking about, but I was kind of right about the fact that there's something else to this scene where Erica is going to have this moment where she's walking away and she's going to turn around because one of them said something that convinces her of this, and most likely it's going to be her brother Lucas. So just let me know your thoughts about that, because the next scene we're going to get to is our boy Hopper and our girl Elle. And the scenes that it made me think of right here when he says, "We gotta go." We don't know what's going on in this scene. However, the first thing I thought about, people, is that in season 2, when Hopper is like in Hawkins' lab and he goes and runs upstairs after the Demogorgons or Demodogs are coming, right? He runs upstairs and he grabs Will and he looks at all of the group, and Will's passed out, right? And he goes, "We gotta go, we gotta go." And it made me think of Demodogs for some reason, people. And we know that there's going to be Demodogs involved, okay? We don't know when they're coming in, okay? And we don't see I don't think we see them in this trailer at all. But that's the thing about this. Could this be a hint that these Demodogs and these monsters are just going to be coming in troves, in different waves, okay? Kind of like we've seen throughout these seasons. But the thing about that is we also see something involving the Demodogs as well, and Hopper saying this line, is when they're in the shed and they're trying to question Will and trying to get Will back while he's infiltrated, right? When that phone rings and it lets them know where Will is, and they start hearing the Demodogs in the distance. Basically, Hopper goes and grabs Will and gets them all back in the house and says, "We gotta go, we gotta go." So, no doubt in my mind, there's connections to these Demodogs just based off what Hopper says there. And I don't know what's going on in this scene, but it'd be pretty wild if all of a sudden we see some Demodogs coming up and Eleven and Hopper have to fight them again like we saw at the end of season 2. It would be pretty fucking wild. Just let me know your thoughts about that. Because as we get to our last scene, all right, there's a reason I wanted to hold off on, like, say, the whole satellite radio on top of the car thing, because what we see, obviously, we see our group in the car, and we see that Nancy basically says, "Do it," and then all of a sudden they're racing to a gate. So first things first, I want to confirm that in the teaser trailer I said that this gate, whatever they're driving through, it was obvious that they were driving through a gate. However, it was not too obvious unless you caught the fact that Steve's mirror breaks off that this gate would be closing, okay? And I want to give a shout out to our boy I Like Scary. It's another YouTube channel. I was in his stream and he mentioned something about the mirror breaking, and I pieced things together and I'm like, wait a minute, does that mean the gate is going to be closing? Like they're going to be racing to a closing gate. So, as we could see in this trailer, we got confirmation, people, and I was so fucking happy when I saw this. But the radio satellite on top of the car is so significant, and I'm sure you all have the same questions I do. Do you think that this is going to be something that they use to open these gates? And I have a connection here I want to make. I said earlier that, maybe they were on Miss Kelly Street, right? Well, could they be somewhere maybe near Mr. Clark's house? And I know we have no confirmation that Mr. Clark is going to be coming back yet. He actually liked one of my comments on a recent Raw Stuffer post, and I want to give a shout out to Randy Havens, okay, the actor who plays Mr. Clark. I love you. You are phenomenal, and I hope you come back if you ever see this. But my point is that if Dustin, our boy, who seems like this is his plan kind of within this trailer, do you think he's going to call our boy Mr. Clark for some help like he did at the end of season 1, specifically in the bathtub episode, all right? When he calls about the sensory deprivation tank. Well, what the thing about this is, I want to give a huge shout out also to our girl Melissa Davies and our girl Blue, because I believe, Blue, you mentioned this as well a long time ago, but I was looking back at some comments and that we were talking about this recently, but if you go to season 3, people, and right when Joyce goes there to Mr. Clark's house, okay, when Mr. Clark basically really isn't in that season other than those scenes with Joyce, when that garage door is lifting up and you look at this box, it says Sensor, all right, and some of the fam, all right, Melissa and Blue, I believe, we're looking this up, okay, from previous series. They were like brainstorming, looking at stuff, and they realized, okay, that this Sensor radio, this is a radio satellite that goes on top of your car, okay? And instantly, it made me start thinking, well, obviously, okay, there's a connection to, say, that radio. It could have been just a hint to something they were going to be doing. But the fact that it's in Mr. Clark's garage makes me question this, that maybe they call Mr. Clark for some help. But Dustin has the science and knowledge of what the hell's going on in Hawkins, that they might need to start telling Mr. Clark some truth about what's actually going on for him to really help in this way. And if anyone's going to help Dustin develop a laser or something in order to open a gate, it's gonna be our boy Mr. Clark. But how I was saying earlier, right, other than Mr. Clark, how I was saying I'm getting Starcourt vibes, all right? As we know, in Starcourt, okay, there was those green canisters. And as we know, the military invaded after everything happened at the end of season 3. And they most likely took everything. However, some of those things were in boxes, okay, that looked inconspicuous. So, do you think it's possible that they have to go to Starcourt to get some of these green canisters, those battery things that was used in order to open a gate, all right? And as we see the satellite on top of their car, it somewhat looks like it's a satellite, but also a little type of laser. So, I just want to know your thoughts. Do you think this radio on top of this car is going to be used for more than just a signal or sending off a radio signal or connecting back to the real world? Do you think this could be something that they use to open gates and get through really quickly? While they're driving, they're opening gates and just driving and going through gates, trying to go in and out of the Upside Down as quick as possible so they're not there too long or get trapped there. But with all that being said, I know that's some wild connections, but there's so much to talk about. There's going to be so much to talk about coming out in just tomorrow. I hope you guys like this one. I hope you guys love all of these theories. Like I said, it has been a whirlwind of emotions. It's been a whirlwind of thoughts. It has been a crazy year, but just thank you to each and every single one of you. I love all of you guys. You all deserve the biggest shout outs in the world. You have made this channel what it is, and without you, I couldn't have done it. So thank you. It's your boy Brandon, DLA Alternative, and you guys already know, we out.